I've spent years trying to figure out if I'm a creative who happens to run a business or a business owner who happens to be a creative. My brain wants everything perfect and on time, but my heart wants to get lost in the work and forget the clock. It's structure versus soul. And balancing the two is the hardest job I have.
Alright, so Monday is the ultimate test of balance. I'm about to head to Tater Baseball, where I do video ads, where logic meets magic. So one provides the boundaries, the other provides the life. It's kind of like taking a math test and then having to draw a picture on the back. But before I can pick up my camera or write a single line of copy, I need to face the music. And by music, I mean the numbers.
These numbers tell me what's working and what's not. Not only does it have to look great, but it has to make people feel something. And that feeling is usually pulling out their wallets and buying. Then I switch from clicks to craft. The numbers provide a boundary. I just have to make it look good. Kind of like coloring between the lines. Then I just have to wait and see if the soul I put into the structure actually works. So Monday nights at the studio are usually pretty dead. And after a long day, I look forward to going to the house, recharging and decompressing. Sometimes the universe has other plans. So in a situation like this, what do? Here's the thing about running a creative business that nobody tells you. You can't afford to say no. Not when you're still building. Not when your reputation is the only marketing you really have. So you make the trade. Rest for revenue, comfort for credibility. You just have to ask yourself, what's it worth to you? So Tuesday starts with the digital chores. The first hour is dedicated to the inbox and handling the admin work so that small fires don't become big ones. It's definitely not glamorous, but extremely necessary. After melting my brain for a bit, it's time to get some exercise. They say that nowadays, sitting is the new smoking. Considering that a large portion of my job requires me sitting at a desk, it's probably easy to understand why I need some exercise. With a physical therapist as a father and a health coach as a mother, health has always been a priority to me. But more on that later. So tonight, instead of the studio, we're heading to a local theater in my town to shoot a talking segment. I always enjoy freelance gigs. They force me out of my comfort zone and my usual habitat. And it forces me to be open-minded and to look at things in a new light. From here, it's time to go home, drop this footage, and get ready for tomorrow. Alright, so on Wednesdays, usually I'm back at Tater. This month, the boys are at spring training handling some business, so I'm taking a little bit more time to focus on some of the more personal projects that I've been working on. I wanted to use this time to get a little more personal about what finding balance means to me, and maybe how you can apply that to your own life. By no means am I an expert on time management or life management, but my hope is that through making these videos, I'll be able to see my progress and hopefully help a few of you guys along the way. So if you're trying to find balance, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what holds weight? Success in whatever it is that you decide to pursue is going to come with some sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice? What aren't you willing to sacrifice? The common denominator amongst every single living person on earth is that we all have the same 24 hours. And if you want to spend that time wisely, you're going to always have to make a trade. So the first non-negotiable for me is my health. Put simply, nothing else matters if you're dead. And sure, some days I will sacrifice sleep to hustle. Sometimes I will eat until it hurts. But these exceptions don't make the rule. In my opinion, there's no point in achieving success if you don't have the health to enjoy it. And then lastly, the longer I get to live, the more fun I get to have. So my second metric is community. Plain and simple, I love my loved ones. Human beings are actually meant to be social, and science even suggests that it's helpful in expanding lifespan. It's funny, I've always considered myself kind of an introvert. However, the older I get, the more I realize I'm just an extrovert with a very small social battery. Have you ever been around a group of people and it physically tires you out, but then maybe you can get around another group of people and it feels like you've had 2 cups of coffee? I think it's so important to surround yourself with an environment that supports you. They say you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely. Number 3 is wealth. Now, this isn't entirely financial. To me, having money is no different than being good at a game. It's points on a board, and these points give us more leverage. However, money is actually the second most important currency to me. First one being time. And it just so happens that having some money oftentimes helps us buy some of that time back. A person that has control over his health, his time, and his money, well, that's a very wealthy man. And my final one is entertainment. I use that term very broadly, but what I really mean is just experiencing life. I enjoy creating, and I enjoy other people's creations. Culture, science, art, traveling, good food. The world is an amazing place with amazing people inhabiting it. I believe in thoughtful entertainment, something that gives you an experience that you're going to remember, not something to distract you. I work hard so that way I can build the life that I want to live. Life is too short to not enjoy it. So if you want to find your balance, I encourage you to figure out what matters the most to you. If whatever you're about to do serves that greater purpose, do it. And if doing something takes you further away from that vision, then it's probably just noise. One of the things I'm always trying to do more of is reading. More specifically, learning. It kind of feels like a cheat code to be able to take someone's life experiences and condense it into 300 pages. A lot of society's brightest minds were avid readers. It's like working out, but for your brain. Recently, I've been trying to take more of an active approach to investing. I figure if I can learn more about how money works, I could probably make some more of it. It amazes me how much information is actually out there. It's like the more I know, the more I realize I don't. I can say with certainty, there will never be a day I wish I didn't know more. A cornerstone of my day-to-day is having a routine that keeps me grounded. This routine is made up of many of the non-negotiables that I mentioned earlier. Stacking these small wins gives me momentum throughout the rest of my day. I've found that like attracts like, and choices compound across the board. Healthy choices make me feel better, which helps me think better, which makes me more productive. Handling important tasks allows me to relax, which allows me to be more creative. Even in the event that I fall off track, I know I have the routine that I can fall back on. Now, I'm definitely not perfect. My artist brain starts to crave some variety. Sometimes it's as simple as some arc readers with the boys, but it's tough to be away from the grind for too long. It's not long before I find myself back in front of the screen, working on the next project. For most people, Friday is the finish line. For a creative business owner, it's the peak of the mountain. Owning a studio isn't just about hitting the record button. It's about the logistics. It's managing schedules, fixing broken inputs, and making sure the space is ready for the next person's dream. You have to be the janitor and the CEO at the same time. As a service provider, a lot of your success comes down to availability, especially when it's creative. You never know when motivation will hit for a creative, so you need to be ready. I know some of you may think it's just a matter of setting hours, and I hear you. But when you're still growing the business, beggars can't be choosers, and I need to strike when the iron is hot. I think a common misconception about running a business is you are your own boss and you can set your own hours. And in my case, it's more like self-employed. And sure, I can choose when I want to work, but if I don't, who will? I don't think I could do it any other way. And I don't mind trading a 40-hour work week for someone else for a 100-hour work week for myself. There's way more opportunity for income and way more opportunity for personal growth. One of the biggest hardships about running a creative business is when your passion becomes a job. Some days, you don't feel like showing up, but you have to. Sometimes you have to trade fun for funds. This life is definitely not for everyone, and I wouldn't recommend it to just anyone. You need a strong internal compass and an obsession over your goals. Your conviction has to outweigh your comfort. All right, so today is Saturday. It's about 3 p.m. I wanted to turn the camera on and kind of get candid about some of the things that just comes with the territory of being a creative entrepreneur, a service-based entrepreneur. Of course, I love writing, producing, scripting videos. But with a video like this, talking about finding balance, I wanted to make sure to incorporate certain parts that were off the cuff and show some of the parts of the business that are a little spontaneous and are bound to happen. So as of last night, I was pretty much booked up all day today. I had scheduled bookings from roughly 10 a.m. all the way till midnight. I was finishing up a shoot last night, and on the way home, I was informed from my 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. session that unfortunately they were having problems with their vocals and they needed to reschedule. Shortly after I woke up, I got a call from a lead from Google saying they wanted to do a 2-hour session. And of course, this was perfect because now I could fill the 10 a.m. slot that was now vacant. That session was scheduled from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Once I arrived at the studio, I sent him a follow-up text asking him if he was on his way. Only then did he inform me that he wasn't going to be there until 11:45. Now, the deposit and the booking was from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I told him, I'll absolutely wait for you, but the session's still going to end at 1, and it's still going to cost you the full amount. We hopped on the phone, and he voiced how he felt it was unfair that he was still going to have to pay the full amount, even though he wasn't going to be able to be there for the full 2 hours. And of course, I felt it was unfair that I had to be there for 45 minutes and not get paid. On a day when there wasn't much on the books, I would always try to work with him and figure out a time that makes sense and reschedule. However, due to the fact that I had a whole day booked out, there was really no other time that I could fit him in. He told me he was going to stop by regardless, and then hung up the phone. Now, I'm a big believer that not all money is good money, and considering I've never met this person, had no relationship, and he was already being a lot of trouble and a big hassle, in my opinion, the best course of action was just to refund his deposit and completely be done with the situation. Then I was scheduled for another session shortly after that from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. As I was getting ready to leave for my 3 p.m. session, the client called me to inform me that the other person he was coming with unfortunately couldn't make it because of some circumstances, so unfortunately he had to cancel as well. Following that phone call, I called the client that I had scheduled from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. He told me that he had just performed last night and his manager was making him go on vocal rest. Now, this particular client was also scheduled for a video in the studio beyond just a regular session. And last but not least, I have another session that's scheduled from 7 to 9 p.m. They're doing a recording session and they're also scheduled to do a video as well. Now, this is a really good client who's been coming to me for years, and he's actually been coming to me on a weekly basis to do videos for some short form content that he's been posting on social media. He's always been a great customer. He's never been any trouble. He recently just texted me and informed me that he had some unexpected expenses pop up, and he was wondering if it was possible for him to still come and do the session in the video, and he could just pay me the next time he gets paid. And once again, this is a great client that I have a great relationship with. And one of the things that I always do is try to set myself some monthly income goals. It just so happens to be the last day of the month. So now I've gone from a fully booked day to have nothing but a few forfeited deposits and an IOU. I'm always constantly trying to refine the scheduling, the strategy, and I'm very particular about timing, deposits, and scheduling. However, the fact of the matter is sometimes these things just happen. And naturally, it's very easy to get frustrated and to kind of feel like, what are you doing wrong? But this is something you got to just accept. You got to roll with the punches. You got to find another project to do, keeping yourself busy, keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, you need to know that it's very cyclical. Things are going to ebb and flow. Sometimes it's going to be slow. Sometimes you're going to be more booked than you know what to do with. So what I'm about to do now is work on some of the video that I shot last night. I have a few other projects. I like to use moments like this to push myself a little bit further, work a little bit harder, and have a little more faith. Today, I get to see the fruits of my labor. One of the luxuries of choosing your own schedule is to choose. And today, I like to choose the intangibles. Something you can't touch, but it's just as important as everything else, if not more important. Today isn't about being a CEO or a creator. It's just about being present. My family isn't a pillar of my business, but they're the reason I started this journey in the first place. I've learned that you can't keep pouring from an empty cup. Now I'm so excited for the future, but I need to take time to be grateful for the present. And this isn't slacking off, it's mental maintenance. As I look back upon my week, I realized that balance isn't something you find, it's something you fight for every single day. Some days the math is hard, some days the painting is messy, but when you get it right, that's where the magic happens. You just need to make sure you show up. It's a constant tug of war between the structure and the soul. And I wouldn't have it any other way.